Then Wendle is still Wendle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's never Juan.
No, never Rendell. That's a different
No,
name. Rendell's
weird,
a
isn't
different
it?
name. Rendell's a name as well, though.
Yeah. But see, this is where it gets murky water for me,
Yeah.
innit? So I just come out of that and I'm like, listen, Kojo, please.
Kojo,
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it means Monday born in my tribe. Like, I'm half Ghanaian, so we have like names for each day of the week that you're born. There's a name that's apportioned to you. And I'm still trying to study what mine is, but he's like or you're supposed to be like a advocator of peace, fairly diplomatic, quite passionate, good with children, good leader and stuff. And I thought, fuck, I got some shit to live up to here.
Right, that's
but
a good name.
at least I know what to live up to.
Well, if it means all that, I might start calling myself
Yeah,
Kojo. That's a pretty good fucking name. Anyway, I normally start with a boom, we're on, boom, squeeze the neck, bosh, squeeze the neck, whatever you like, but I had to let my guy go for that. But today I'm in the wonderful Nolan's boxing gym in South East London. At least we're south of the river, wrong side of it, but never mind. Today I'm with my guy, I nearly messed your name up then. I nearly said I nearly said Kendall.
Jesus. Oh my word.
Kojo Lewis. So thank you very much for coming on.
That's all right.
Mate.
You're welcome.
Great
You're
to meet
welcome,
you. We got introduced through our mutual mate, Charlie Ram.
Man.
Shout out Big Char. Thanks, mate.
Yep.
And we were speaking before. We probably know loads of people in common, don't we? Fought a friend of mine years ago.
Mehmet,
so
man.
We might have to have a live and a later to avenge me, mate.
Definitely.
But no, thanks.
That's why I was in the gym, innit? You brought kit with you and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I got a knife in the bag.
We're not sparring in this.
Yeah, no, but this is a cool place, isn't it? We've come in here. We'll put some photos up. There's like, we've got Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier on the wall. Whole place like a proper little place.
Wicked. It's that mural in particular. Like when I saw it, it really spoke to me because, like, growing up as a kid, my father had a lot of Ali boxing videos and that era of boxing, like the 70s and that 60s, 70s. There was one film called The Greatest. That's right. I used to have that film on repeat. My mum probably got
a VHS.
You remember it?
I'm showing my age. It was a VHS.
Oh man, I love that film so much. And I think this was one of the fights in there. I think it was all the stuff that was going on politically and training wise up to this fight. So I remember I would watch this fight over and over and over. Then when I saw them put up the mural, I was like, shit, that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe the wheels were in motion from then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, as I said, we'll put a photo up somewhere, but for anyone who can't see it now, obviously, it's the mural of when fucking hell, I'm all over the place. Joe Rogan. Joe Frazier caught Muhammad Ali with a left hook and dropped him at Madison Square Garden just before he goes down. So, famous photo if anyone's seen it.
Crazy,
but
man.
Where are you from originally, mate? Are you from South East?
So, no. I grew up in Stamford Hill. So Tottenham, Seven Sisters.
Wrong side of the river, that
again,
one,
yeah,
that is the wrong side of the river.
But that's where I'm from. Like the first 20 years of my life was spent north of the river. I was born in, what's it called? What's the bloody North Middlesex Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
so that's just off 4th Street in Edmonton. This probably means nothing to you.
Well, no, but I mean, it's, I've got.
In case we do have any North Londoners.
I was going to say, I was in North London recently. I was up in Enfield with big
cool.
Louis Sutherland. Shout out Big Louis Sutherland. Do you know him? Okay. He was fighting on Bellator.
Louis Sutherland.
He's a free agent,
big
heavyweight.
Shit, yeah, no. He's I think John's looking after him.
That's right, John Durant. That's it. That's how I met him.
Yeah,
through John.
I've heard of him, but I never actually met him.
Great guy. That was the first time I met him. But what a character, larger than life. Shame he supports Tottenham, really. But never mind. But how old are you, mate?
I am 40 now, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'm 40 this year, April. It's crept up on me, like. Do you know what I mean? Apart from the injuries, like the injuries from training and that lets me know I'm 40. But other than that, it's like my kids. All of a sudden they're older. And all of a sudden, like my younger son must have said something to me like, "Oh, but you and mummy, you lot are old now." What do you mean? Like, and then I spoke to her. I was like, "Zavi just called us old. Are we? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird thing, isn't it?
How old's your boy?
So my younger boy, he's 7.
Well, yeah. I mean, to him, 40 is like a dinosaur. Isn't it?
It's like how they view you and how you view yourself. It's like that sometimes.
Yeah, well, do you know what? It's funny, there's a geezer who comes, I teach a class in Brixton, shout out New School Brixton, kid in there, Harry. Now I say kid, he's 20 years old, he's a big, like, hefty, rugby looking guy. Yeah. But I was talking to him and I found out his age, he's 20. And I looked at it and I worked out, I was like, almost young enough to be my son.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, isn't it?
Damn, I don't know if I like that.
No, it's uncomfortable at times like that, man, because it's the same. I was looking after a younger fella named Damari. Shout out Damari, very promising kickboxer, and his age, I think it's about 19 now. I'm like, shit, like you could be like my son. You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
You was older than him when he was born.
Exactly.
That's even more nuts, isn't it? But I tell you what, like, looking at you now at 40, you look great, right? Like,
thank you.
Well, when we was kids, I'm a little bit younger, get that on camera. But like when we was kids looking at a 40-year-old, that was old.
You could tell,
that was like a 40-year-old.
It showed as well, wasn't it?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I think 40 is different now, isn't it? I'm hoping by the time I get to 40.
I think so. I mean, like, I keep referring to him because it's like my first port of call in terms of what men should be capable of. But my old man, I remember he took us down to Finsbury Park. Do you know Finsbury Park? I remember he was my age now, 40, and he would do like laps of the entire park. And here am I, like, as a 9-year-old or maybe younger, like just trying to walk behind him as he's jogging. So I literally grew up with or being in the gym doing something.
That makes a big difference.
So I think it's rubbed off on me. Like there's a silent expectation in my head, like, well, the standard was set by the generation prior. So like, see what you can do to keep that going. If not, then I wouldn't be able to run with my kids. I wouldn't be able to play with them. And like, especially with what fighting can do during my era, the way that the guys trained, I would say a lot of us pushed beyond red line. Do you know what I mean? But we didn't know such a thing about red line. It was the culture of one more round. And don't be a pussy if you're injured. Just turn up anyway. And if you're hobbling on this leg, it's okay. Use the other one and blah, blah, blah. When really, like, treatment was a bit of a myth back then, you know?
So more was more, wasn't it? Not even that long ago, really. Like, not that long ago.
Crazy.
We're not talking like 20 odd years ago. We're talking like if you went in the gym 8 years ago, it was like that. You know what I mean? And
definitely.
Like, but even like gyms, like certainly when I was a kid, gyms weren't that about. There was like, gyms weren't everywhere, were they? Do you know what I mean? There was like a local boxing club, and there might be like a local, what would it have been, Cannon's Health or Holmes Place at the time.
Oh my God, yeah.
But they were few and far between, weren't they? Like adults, to my knowledge, didn't really go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a thing, was it? Whereas now,
no, that's true.
Whereas now it's like it's like a social thing.
Literally on every other high road, there's a gym.
Yeah.
But
and everywhere, like, look where we are today. We're in an archway. Do you know what I mean?
Mental.
And we've got like a mad little gym in an archway.
Well, all of this would have been what, like a mechanics thing, isn't it? Like a bloody
yard
quick or something back in the day, you know?
That's it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. But it's good to see. I always had like a gut feeling that my generation of fighters and that once we are done, then the state of martial arts in general, in particular MMA, is going to rise. Do you know what I mean? Because when we were coming up, I first got involved in MMA like properly, I think it was 2004. I transitioned from dabbling in amateur boxing, read a couple of books. I think the first book that swayed my opinion was by Ian Freeman.
Yeah.
His autobiography, man. Yeah, it was deep stuff, man. I must have got through that in about a week. And there was a passage in there, he was talking about making the transition from boxing to MMA. And he was like, well, boxers are good on their feet, but if you take a boxer down to the floor, like, to quote, they were like a fish out of water. And I was reading that on the bus, and I was thinking, but as a martial artist, I don't want to be a fish out of water, man. Do you know what I mean? So what's all this grappling stuff about? You know what I mean? So that kind of got the cogs going a little bit, you know?
And in 2004, grappling wasn't plentiful.
No, man.
Because the reason I asked you is, like, I started off as a boxer, and I was definitely of the generation of, like, I don't need that fucking game wrestling shit. You know what I mean? I just punch him in the face. And like, I'm talking like till I was about 20, which would have been 2010-ish.
Okay.
So it's not that long ago, really, right? I started grappling seriously in 2014. But in the meantime of that, it was like, it wasn't that about. Do you know what I mean? If you did grappling, it was still a bit sort of like, not weird, but it was a bit like, oh, okay, where'd you do that? You know what I mean?
I think, like, grappling equaled judo, wasn't it, when we were coming up? Or maybe wrestling.
And it was more like in a leisure centre, like on a Tuesday night, off time, stuff like that. It wasn't like a place. You didn't.
No, man.
I'm sure they were, and people will go, oh no, I used to train at so-and-so for years before that. But like, for my knowledge, it was like no one did it. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I remember, one of my guides through my whole MMA career path or journey or whatever was Ashley Grimshaw. And we met, Jesus, I can't remember where it was, man. No, we met, I looked up a wrestling or grappling school, and that grappling school was in a leisure centre in Surrey Quays Leisure Centre. You know, we were talking about leisure centres just now. So my first experience of it was in a leisure centre under Rob Solsky. Shout out Rob Solsky, man, because he put me on this path as well. So during that session, I think we were learning how to do like shrimps and all of this stuff. Bro, I didn't know. You know what I mean? I felt so uncomfortable, like. But then Ash came and spoke to me afterwards and kind of took me under his wing with another guy, Wes. Ash and Wes basically encouraged me to keep going to classes and that. So they must have seen something in me to work with. Yeah. And the way that Rob taught the class, it's like a perfect blend of wrestling and the jiu-jitsu that you need for fighting.
And what, was this in a gi or no gi?
No, no gi.
No gi, because that would have been quite pioneering at that point, right?
Yeah, man, 100%. No gi, half wrestling takedowns, and majority of the groundwork was more BJJ than wrestling. But yeah, I remember I was with them for a while. Then just moved on from there. But Ashley was also coming from Pancrase, which was in Solbell Leisure Centre, down the other side of the river, you know? So it's crazy. Leisure centres were the thing back in the day.
I was going to say, there's people probably going to watch this that were born like in the 2000s going, what the fuck's a leisure centre?
What are you lot on about?
Leisure centres were everywhere when we was kids, man. Leisure centres were a thing.
They were needed. We need more of them, to be fair. We need more. I know, like, we've got places like this, but when you think about the youth, like, I don't know how you feel about it, but we're trying to prize them off their screens a lot. Do you know what I mean?
That's the fact.
So it could mean having more of these places to go to where you just got like a pool table, or, you know, like in secondary school, we'd have the tuck shop. Do you remember the tuck shop?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
We'd have like your computer games, and you got your pool table, you got your snooker table. We could do with more of that for the
like
youth.
Old-fashioned youth clubs, weren't they?
Yeah,
they was about, like, they was kind of a little bit before my time, but they were still sort of about when I was a little bit young to go to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was sort of a little bit after.
You would have been one of the year 7s that are trying to get in, but can't get in.
Do you know what I mean?
And mouthing it and probably chucking stuff at the window.
Yeah, I was like at the window with the boys and then running away when the bigger kids come out.
I miss those days, man.
Yeah, those were the days. But take us back, mate, because you said it was boxing your first.
No. So I come from a family of, how you call it, karatekas? Karatekas, yeah. So of my siblings, I think 4 of them or 3 of them are black belts. So
this older sibling,
younger brother.
Oh.
I'm sure he must be black belt level now if he's still training. And then there's my late older brother, who was like the guru. We all kind of turned to him as like the voice of reason. He was like walking Zen for us, right? So there's David, he was a black belt. I think he got to second or third dan. Then there's another older sibling of mine, he was a black belt. And then my sister's a black belt as well, so there's about 3 of them. I got up to brown belt, I think. I remember grading for my black belt, right? And I was so sure I was gonna get it, man. It was in my secondary school, Christ College in Finchley, right? It's like a weekend of a Japanese seminar where they invite all the top coaches from Japan, and like it's maybe about 5 times the size of this space, a sports hall, right? So you've got all your belts from white through to black, and then you've got all the proper top-notch guys there in the front, and we're going at it over the weekend. So I remember they were calling everyone up as to what grade they were gonna get. I was so sure that I was gonna get it. And they said, brown belt and 1 tag, and I felt something in me just go, do you know what I mean? But then even then, right, I was still, because my dad was such a fan of boxing, and he loved judo, and he kept talking to us indoors about like how effective judo is and how effective boxing is. So I asked myself, even at 8 years old or 7 years old when I started, I was like, well, Dad, how come you got us involved in karate, and when these other arts, you sing their praises, but we ain't doing them? So I started kind of veering towards those arts, right? You know, so in school, all of the fights as well, they didn't look like nothing that we were doing in the dojo, so to speak. At least the juniors, you know, they train the adults different. The adults would literally spar to the point where their gis are bloody torn and it would look like a proper tear-up. But for the juniors and that, it was very much point scoring, very controlled and that. But then in secondary school, there was no control. There was headbutts and grappling and throws and all sorts, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, when that happened, it kind of led me to try other arts. And I think that's when I started kind of venturing out. I think the first one that appealed to me was Thai boxing.
And what age are you when you start branching out, mate? And what age is like the black belt heartbreak situation?
14. So I'm in year 8, year 9.
So yeah, still a kid, really.
Yeah. And you know what? When I look back at it now, I wouldn't call off karate at all because I pulled it back into like the way that I express myself in MMA. What I would say looking back on it is that I wasn't patient enough with the art clearly to see the efficacy of the art.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It was more my fault than the art's fault, you know? Very rarely can you blame a style, it's more the practitioner. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And back then I was just too impatient. I wanted a quick fix to what I was seeing going on around me, which was a little bit more violent than the competitions that I was taking part in. So there's that. And then there's the films that we used to watch indoors. So my dad was an avid martial arts fan, as was my late brother. So every now and then, you know, you have like the off licenses where you can rent out martial art videos for like a weekend or something, and you got to return them, on VHS.
They was like a poor man's blockbuster, weren't they?
Yeah, like, yeah. I like that. I like that analogy. Exactly like that. Poor man's blockbuster. They were normally on the top shelf.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And like a blank case.
Yeah. The blank cases. Oh my God. But you remember?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
You're bringing memories back.
I pretend I'm young on here, but I'm not really.
Oh man, they put it in a blank case for you. And we used to watch maybe like 2 a weekend, and I remember like I watched Kickboxer 2 long before I watched the first one. Me and my dad sat down and we watched Kickboxer 2, and that kind of changed it up for me because it was you remember Tong Po, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And he was put up against the one of the Sloan's brothers' students. So there was Eric Sloan, Kurt Sloan, and then the other which one? Forgive me if I can't remember the names, but there were 3 brothers. They owned a kickboxing gym, and there was this really promising kickboxer. His name was Brian, and Brian was like really strong-headed, very stubborn, and he had like a late fill-in, and that late fill-in was called in from Thailand. And just that fight scene where it was Thai boxing versus American-style kickboxing, I was like, what is going on here? It was a bit exaggerated. So if you go and watch it online now, you'll probably be thinking, how can that like direct your path for the rest of your life? But as a youngster watching that film, I was like, he's using all of his tools, whereas Brian was just using his hands and his feet. What's this Thai boxing stuff about? And I think that's when I started kind of looking into it a little bit more. I found a really good instructor just opposite Tottenham Football Ground. Back then it was called KO North, I think. At the moment, present day, it's called Muay Thai Masters Academy under Arjan Vinny. He went on to change my life, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Massive influence. I've tried to track him down just to say thank you, because I remember like my first class with him, it was a hard gym. As soon as you walked in, you can smell the Thai oil. He's got the Thai music going and that, and it was a hard floor, not like this. It was concrete, red concrete around the ring and stuff, and everyone's skipping away and training away and that. And then we had different stations to do different types of training. So there was like this one bag towards the entrance that I could swear now, it felt like it was filled with sand, and it had like a thick bottom around it. I remember we had to throw punches at it. So for the first time, I'm doing bag work. So I remember like the way that they pushed you as well, it's like well beyond what you think you're capable of. And I'm visiting that for the first time. I'd touched it with karate, but this was something else, And then I remember like Arjan Vinny gave me a tap with a low kick. It's like, no, you're supposed to, because he had a strong like Liverpudlian accent, you're supposed to do it like this, son. Boom! And he dropped it accurate. But like, he must have given me about maybe 15%, yeah? And for a week, I felt it across my leg. I was like, what is this?
And that's when you're 14, when things
I
recover
want to
like that.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I want to find out like what that was about. What did that man do to me? Like, how that hasn't been done before. What's that about? So that prompted my curiosity to keep going and stuff. And yeah, here we are, man.
That's
now
good.
part
What's
of the
your
Arsenal.
name?
Arjan Vinny the Con.
Arjan Vinny. If anyone knows how to get a hold of Arjan Vinny, comment below and hook us up.
And if you, I don't know, by chance, if he gets to maybe see this via somebody, then personally, hand on heart, thank you very much for what you've done. Because as a 14-year-old, to guide me and like put a positive voice in my head and say like, I'm capable of doing something as a youngster in Tottenham and that, the prospects are not that great unless you have like solid parenting, which I did, a good foundation, and then good mentors on the outside as well to keep you on the straight and narrow. And he definitely was one of them. Yeah,
it's funny how things at that age get you, don't they? Because I said I started as a boxer, but prior to that, when I was sort of 10, 11, I'd done a bit of Thai boxing in a gym in Eastbourne, actually. I moved down to Eastbourne for a few years in a place called Asterix. And I think we spoke about it on here before. Someone knew the gym. The man's name was Eddie, and his missus was like a high-level Thai boxer as well. I forget their surname, so apologies. Maybe someone can help me out with that. But that was the same sort of experience. You go down, it was like in a basement place. And that smell hits you.
Oh, man.
And like the funny shorts that you wear and all the funny gloves.
Like that. I used to love the shorts,
It was all like strange. And I remember wrapping my hands when I was like, as I say, I was a kid. So the wraps are going round and round and round and round and round. You know, like it's just
thinking, what's this? How am I going to, why do I need so much wrap?
But great experience. And it was the same, like kick the bag, and like tapping your legs up and all that. And it was like, you know, funny times.
I can still remember it. I can still, just talking about it, it's mad how your brain works, because I can still remember that kick, you know.
I remember starting sparring and stuff too, because like I must have been 10, because I think you had to be 11 to fight properly. So we did like a couple of like little inter-club things where they're not scored or whatever. But it was just like exciting. He was almost too young to be scared of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was so exciting and whatnot. So I got fond memories of that too. You know?
Mate.
But anyway, this ain't about me. This is
no, it's all good, man.
So where did you box, mate?
So my story with boxing, I visited Islington, Islington, you know when you come out of our archway,
there's an Islington ABC.
And you go down, but I didn't officially join with them because looking back on it, it's August time that I went there, right? So they let me use the bags and that, but there was never anybody around.
Right.
So again, no season, innit?
Yeah.
So I made the move to South London a few months later. Then I went on to join Honor Oak.
Okay, yeah.
You know the club?
Yeah. I used to box at Ellsfield, so they was always around.
Oh, shit. Like, so do you know Tom? Did you know Tom Arscott?
No.
Oh, mate, what a character,
Is
man.
he?
Yeah, what a character. So me showing up there, I was probably about 20 or so. Now, Tom, I don't know how old, rest in peace, man, but I don't know how old he was, but the best way to describe Tom was like a Cockney version of Mickey. You know what I mean? Like in the film Rocky.
Yeah.
Like an East End version of Mickey.
Right.
He was so like impressionable on me because like I grew up around that kind of whole East End twang and that you know, there's a certain vibe about the East End and that, and the man, all the men from the East End and that, but probably because the tradesmen were around my dad.
Right.
So whenever I was with my dad at work, I'm hearing the lingo, I'm hearing the kind of one-liners, the jokes and stuff. So then Tom was all that embodied, but he was also like a guru when it came to boxing. He made time for me, man. And I ended up breaking his heart when I said to him, listen, this MMA thing has got a hold of me, you know. Yeah, I remember that day, man. I remember that day. I was going up the stairs because these things are normally in like a primary school, isn't it? Like, so I can't remember the name of the primary school, but you had to kind of cut through a field. You come off at Perry Hill bus. There's a bus stop right near the bottom of Perry Hill. Come off that thing, cross the road. There was the school you have to go up, and it was literally, it looked like it was in a classroom, in a primary school classroom. Then they put all the bags up and that, you know. So I was there for a little while. Tom took me under his wing. I never competed as an amateur, but we trained 2-3 nights a week for about a year and a half or so I was there, you know. So then eventually, like I said, I read that book. I was like, I want to try this, you know, because coming from martial arts, one of my passions is boxing, but I'm not just a boxer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I read that book, it's like I still got more to learn. I wanna be as well-rounded as I can, because again, Bruce Lee was one of my idols. Now I would say his approach is very much a part of my approach. I don't idolize, but I'm heavily inspired by him now, you know. But yeah, man, that was the quest. The quest was to become as well-rounded as possible. So let's see what this MMA thing has in store, you know.
Yeah, and you're what, 20, so you're still young. You still got loads of time.
Yeah. You don't think it then. When you're 20 and that, you don't think, oh, I've got loads of time, and you think, oh, I've got to move now, because even in college, you know, sometimes you will see guys your age, like in the car, and it was a Golf, innit? In a
Golf, a Peugeot 100
yeah, decked out, tinted windows in a Golf and that, and they got money and they're doing all right, and here am I, like, waiting for my 232 bus to take me home, and I'm thinking, dude, I got to make movements somehow. Like, in my home, it was like an Afro-Caribbean home. Normally you have 4 options, or even 3. Doctor, lawyer, maybe engineer now, dentistry, but that kind of thing.
Like a linear progression.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got to go through college, university, even get your doctorate and stuff like that. They're not accepting anything less than that at all. Yeah.
So you tell them you're trying to be a ninja, and they're like, shut the
fuck up.
What,
mate?
Get upstairs.
What? Like, yeah, you need to study. You've got to go and do your coursework. So mum's from Ghana, Kumasi in Ghana, and my dad's from Grenada. So in terms of roughly where it is, if you look on the map, I think it's below or just above Trinidad on the map. So we're the southern part of the Caribbean.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
nice weather over there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's so green. It's like really,
is it really green? Okay.
Yeah, really, really luscious, you know.
Haven't made it to the Caribbean yet.
No,
man, but
you'll
gotta
love
get
it.
there.
You'll love it, man. You'll love it, definitely. Nice, warm people with good culture. Yeah, man. Warm people with a nice sense of humor, is that on both sides, you know. Got the Ghanaians and that, they're known for being very welcoming and very warm as well, you know. And sometimes when I look back or hear myself coaching, I can hear or kind of sense that flavor in how I welcome people in and like make them feel like this is a home for you and stuff. And I'm there for you, not just as a coach, but as a friend.
You know
what I mean? Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, I think that's important, isn't it, when you're teaching people, especially when you're teaching young people. And I'm not even talking about kids, just sort of like young adults even. Like when people come to class or whatever that are sort of at that age, you can see they need more than just a class. They need a bit.
100%.
They need a mate. They need to be one of the boys or girls,
100%.
whatever. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
But they need a bit of a community. I think it's important for all ages, really. Like we've all been. I'm sure you have as well. You know, when you go to a gym and it's like everyone's snarling at you.
Yeah.
And you train hard, you have hard sparring, but it's like. You know,
what's after that?
What's after? You know, what I want to be here
that,
for
man?
With all these fucking miserable people.
That was
you know
mad.
What I mean?
That was mad. I remember that.
You know, there's a gym. I won't say where it is in London because I might train there again because the sparring's good. But like you go there, no one wants.
I think we might know about the same.
We
gym.
probably know. We're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
we'll talk about it off camera.
Yeah, but you go up there. Like I'd grappled a lot at the time. I think I was a purple belt at the time, so I was okay. And but like they put me with some Sambo guy who tried to like me and him just had a war for an hour.
Yeah.
And another new guy showed up. And he's just a pure kickboxer, so he was getting suplexed and slammed around.
Oh shit!
Like fucked him up, like proper, like hurt him.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
no point.
It's okay to drop into, but who wants to train irregular?
No,
like this ain't fun, is it?
no,
They're not
no.
good people. You know, the coach was miserable, didn't want to talk to you.
Oh mate, it's tough like that, you know.
You
because
make assumptions where that gym is, guys.
Yeah, that's down to you. I'm saying nothing. You know? But there are some gyms out there like. I remember like when I first made the decision to try and go pro with this thing, yeah. Like the training out there was tough. It was like, I've never been to the army, but I imagine how regimental and how tough our training was could be, you could draw parallels to it, you know. It was really, really, really hard. I'm grateful for it looking back on it because I think as a 20-year-old, man, I was still really wet behind the ears in terms of what fighting really was, even though I had spent, let's say I started at 7, I spent about 13 years trying to chase what it is. Do you know what I mean? And we can talk about why I chased it maybe a little bit later on, because that may help people too. But the wars that I had in certain gyms, you need a little bit of it, but I wouldn't say, like, say for instance now I'm in the position to teach. Occasionally I'd make people taste fire like that if they say that they want to compete, you know, or even if they didn't want to compete, just put you in that fire once or twice in your life, just to say, you know what, I can do this. Because normally I always say to my students, we make a big deal of things, especially in combat, like getting punched. We can make a bigger deal of it in our heads than it actually is. I'm not saying getting punched isn't a big deal with CTE now and everything. It is. But we always kind of tend to exaggerate the thing in our head. So just for you to get hit, boom, one time and think, oh, I'm still standing, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? It can give you a little bit more confidence or resilience that you could go and take and put wherever you want to outside of the gym, you know?
I agree 100%, because I think if you don't do that, you turn into sort of like the stereotypical kung fu, where it's like, don't work.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? You need to know it works at a
yeah,
certain point.
100%.
If you're in a boxing gym and you go, oh, I've never really been hit, you're probably not
You
boxing,
gotta
are
find
you?
out.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's one of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think there's a value to that, but for short periods of time.
Yeah, man.
Because if you go the other way, like we've all been in gyms, I'm sure, where it's like, you know, people are just getting fucked up week after week. And that ain't no good either, is it? Do you know what I mean? But I think that is dying out now and people are getting smarter.
Thankfully, man. I mean, I think, what's his name again, man? Forgive me, my age is showing now. Holloway.
Max
Holloway. When he come out and said, well, listen, I don't spar, or I spar less, and these are the reasons why. I mean, there may have been pockets that had that approach, but I'm grateful for artists like him and fighters like him to come out and say, well, listen, there's a different way of doing this. What we don't want to do, or what I don't want to do, is, like you said, there's two extremes in it. There's the non-contact and super contact all the time. Like, I'm trying to be in the middle, and I would veer towards less contact to the head.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Body
so yeah, hard to the body for conditioning and that, to the legs is okay.
And you have to go hard, like we said. I think I've already repeated myself, but you do have to go hard, don't you? If you're going to fight for real, there's no alternative. The first time you're getting hit hard can't be live because it's not going to go well. Do you know what I mean? But there's elements of it where it's like, Nigel Benn's a good example. Now, if someone maybe comment if I'm butchering it a little bit, but like he said, like in his prime, I think he said he'd spar about 6 or 8 times in a lead up to a world title fight, properly.
Okay.
Like in terms of he'd have 6 or 8 proper sparring sessions, like in the lead up, in the 6 or 8 weeks leading up once a week to get his time in.
Nice.
And that was enough. Like he'd do his crazy training on the bags, his circuits, like there's videos of him out there in there doing nuts training. And he didn't want to get hit in the head.
Smart
and it's
guy,
smart,
man.
isn't it? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, but he still did it because you have to, right?
You can't. This is a truth that you can't run away from. I mean, what do they call it? The circle of truth or something? Because you can run, but you can't hide and stuff. So you will have to taste it. And I think that's what called me to doing something in the ring. I used fighting as a rite of passage for myself, you know. I wanted to know that I could. And at the time, like I said, at my age, again, I was looking back, I was looking at it maybe with less maturity or patience. Like I didn't have that call from karate. I wanted the call now. So I was drawn more towards like the kickboxing, the boxing and that, because you'd soon find out. And I remember the first time like I got hit, like proper flush on my nose and that, you know? Because I had to hide the fact that I was doing this shit from my old man and my mum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there was a thing like, oh, I don't want you to box, son. I don't want you to box. Why? Because you'll break your nose, or this will happen, or that will happen. Because he used to box, but I want to box. Yeah. So my whole thing was hit and don't get hit, right? But then, even with that style, there was still a little bit of fear because I hadn't been hit properly. You understand? So we were shadow boxing, and I remember this is with no gloves, by the way. This was whole non-contact shadow boxing to warm up, right, in a kickboxing class. And I don't know whether it was thrown on purpose or not, but I was shadow boxing, and I was, you know, as a youngster, you're kind of feeling yourself because I had quick hands and stuff like that. So I was trying different combinations in front of this guy, yeah. He looked like Eastern European. He would then go on to be my coach in another gym, right? But maybe we'll talk about that later. But on this night, I didn't know him, he didn't know me. I'm moving around, boom, 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 different angles and that. And I didn't know his missus was on the benches watching him. And I must have made him look like, you know what I mean? Yeah, so he's marked my cards, yeah? So towards the end of the session, we started sparring now. If I tell you the way this guy hit me with an overhand right, yeah, and it landed so sweetly on my face and that, I thought, it's got to be, I'm fucked, it's gone. Shit. And the first thing I thought about was, fuck, how am I gonna hide this now? Like, I hope that when I get home, maybe mum's asleep, maybe whatever, because then I've got time to maybe ice it and so on. Maybe if I can get out, I'm already making my plan to hide from them. Never mind, is it broken or am I okay? I'm thinking, oh shit, man. Now it's obvious evidence that I'm doing what I'm doing now. I'm gonna get baited, you know? So I still remember the first time I got clocked. It didn't break, thankfully. I've never broken it in active competition or in fights and stuff, but I touch wood, because even as a teacher, sometimes people can miss the pad, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's not over, man. Because sometimes you're holding the pad, hit the pad, and I like to kind of hold it a little bit close to me, but sometimes people will veer off and it will land. So I've chipped teeth and stuff, you know. It's probably like different coaches are used to this kind of thing. It's not like a violin moment, but it is what it is.
Just so a clumsy
far,
person.
Yeah, man, it can happen. Do you know what I mean? But so far, so good.
But did your mum catch you? Did your mum know?
Yes, she found out. I managed to hide it from my dad for a little bit longer, but she found out. But mum was a little bit easier to pacify.
All right, okay.
Yeah, mum speaks with her face, right? So, and I could sense like the disappointment. She'd look at me and she'd pull this face. I can't even do it properly. Then I'd be like, Mum, don't worry. You know, like as a young kind of man, like you can pacify your mum to a degree kind of thing. And she'd just kind of put her hands together like that and just kind of shake her head. Like, okay, if you're going to do what you're doing, I hope that you know what you're doing. But at 16, do you really know what you're doing? Do you know what I mean?
Tough age, isn't it? 16.
Yeah, man. It was a mad age for me because, again, like home life and stuff was turbulent, to say the least. And I think, even though there are many fond memories from growing up in my house, there were also some memories that they've left a scar, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think part of my journey to martial arts was just not being scared anymore. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like as a kid, you know, there's certain things that took place and that I saw, witnessed and that, or heard and that. And I thought, I'm done with, like, I don't want to be scared anymore. You understand? So what can I do to get my own badge of honor? You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's what it was. Like we said, the whole rite of passage, you know? I remember my dad telling me one time, like the Lewis men that had gone before him, to quote him, he said they were made of strong stuff. So I remember when he told me that, I was like, well, I want a seat at that table. Do you know what I mean? When all is said and done and my time is over and that, I want a seat with them, but I'm gonna have to earn it. How do I earn it? So that they were all like businessmen and stuff, they were all self-sufficient. So I'm marking this in my head, thinking, right, okay, they all had their own business, okay, cool. They were all strong, very principled men, you know what I mean? And they could have a scrap if need be, you know what I mean? Mm. So what are you doing? You know, how are you gonna earn your stripes? So I used martial art, every form of it, like the philosophy, the writings, the training, I used that, and I decided to kind of, I got to a juncture where it could be go the way this society or traditional culture tells you to go and get your degree, go and do this, go and do that, or chase this thing. And I remember making the decision around maybe 15, 16, I was like, I want to be a champion. I used to jog around Martfield Park in Stamford Hill in like when it was dark. I remember doing laps around that park. It might be, about maybe just over a kilometer, maybe a kilometer plus, doing the entire park in the dark, right?
and then kind of shadow box on the where the playground is. You know, they got like a merry-go-round, and they got all the swings and that. But this is in the dark, so sometimes foxes will come out and stuff, and it's just me in the park. You know, it's a massive park, and I'm looking up at the stars, and I'm thinking, you know what? One day, the stars are going to be replaced with people, and people are going to be looking down at me whilst I do my thing. Do you know what I mean? And just thinking about it now, I could well up, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a true emotion. I thought, you know what? I know nobody believes in it right now, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. But I have to be the rebel of the family, because everyone else, economics degree. Me, I stopped 2 weeks into university because I thought, look, it's just not for me. I remember being with my first girlfriend, who was pivotal in me deciding to take this up as a career. She said to me, look, you can't really have a plan B if this is going to be your plan A. You got to take the leap, man.
She's a keeper, bro.
Yeah. Well, she was. I tried, but I was young. Do you know what I mean?
We all tried, didn't we?
Yeah, man.
We all tried.
It's like you need to taste the pain of losing your first love. That may be part of like manhood. Do you know what I mean? I just didn't know that then. But yeah, she really backed me. She saw, or must have seen, a hot-tempered 17, 18-year-old that had some sort of promise, or that wanted to be something.
Yeah.
And she stuck with it for as long as she could. But at the same time, like, supported it, man. There was a time where we left London because there was a lot going on. You know, to even just having our relationship accepted was tough.
Is this a white girl, is it?
No. I couldn't say.
Oh, right.
It's crazy, right? But she was from Trinidad and Nigeria. Now, Trinidad and Nigeria are next door to, so Trinidad is next door to Grenada,
right?
And Nigeria is next door to Ghana. But as some may know in the culture, we can still be, what's the right word? Because prejudice isn't the word. Maybe insular is more of a word, where you want someone of your tribe to marry into your tribe.
Right.
So even going across the border to another country could be an issue back then.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not like that now. I don't think.
I think it's anywhere, like I jokingly said at the start, at least with the right side of the river.
Yeah. Okay.
Go back far enough.
Similar.
Go back far enough.
Because it was like that. It was
You know
it was exactly like that. I used to tell my friends. My friends used to ask me about it, and they say, "Well, where's she from?" I say, "Oh, she's from South." And bruv, no, she's from South. No, you got to take a horse and carriage to get out there, bruv. That's too far. South London. Nah, bruv, you got to drop her out
it's
straight
like 5
away.
stops on the tube, bro.
It's like, come on, it's not that far, man. Do you know what I mean? By the time you go Seven Sisters, go and change at Green Park, and then I used to get off at Surrey Quays and that. It's a journey, but it's not that far, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Love to go or what?
Yeah,
Love to go or what? What you want to do?
Of course, man. You know, so yeah, she helped me to, what she did, she gave me the room, the space, and the support initially for me to say, you know what, it's actually all right to go and break the rules if you want to, but you've got to take a leap of faith, man. You can't have a plan B, because normally what would happen if you're going to do something non-traditional, like your parents, because of love or because of lack of knowledge of the thing that you want to pursue, or just wanting to keep you safe, can be like, yeah, okay, if you want to go and chase that, that's fine, but would you please go and get your degree first? So that I know if you go into this thing and God forbid the worst happens to you, you still got a fallback. So as a parent now, I understand it. But then as a risk taker back then, you got to take the risk, man. You got to. You can't, I couldn't, because the time is now. It was kind of late in terms of acquiring certain skills. I was 13 years into striking, but 0 years into grappling. I loved wrestling, absolutely loved wrestling, but I had little experience of it, so I have to go and get it.
And also, if you're working hard on a uni degree,
that's
time that you ain't got time for that. Otherwise, you're only half doing it. And there's someone who ain't at uni.
No, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
I keep telling my guys now, I'm like, I don't want you to come against the guy that eats, sleeps, breathes, shits your sport in the ring when you've trained part-time. You understand me? Like
you
you've
come
got to
unstuck
give this more than, because the amateurs. I look at the MMA amateurs in particular. I would say they are on the level that we were skills wise. They are on the level that we were when I was professional. The amateurs are shit hot now, man. And if you have a look at what they've got available to them, they've got the likes of us as coaches. You know, where we would have to go to maybe 4 different schools to get the knowledge. We'd have to go to a boxing school, go to a Muay Thai school, go to a jiu-jitsu school, go to a wrestling school. They've got all that in one person.
And
now,
also touching on that, them schools didn't like you going to other schools.
No.
When I told the boxing club I was doing some jiu-jitsu, they looked at me like I was fucking simple.
Mad, yeah,
like,
you can't do that.
What the fuck are you up? Like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's a big part of the change, I think, too. When all your coaches are on the same page. Because even if you're in an MMA gym now, the boxing coach, who's a pure boxing coach, at least he gets it. Do you know what I mean? He's in the same loop.
I couldn't have told Tom, as much as I loved him, I couldn't have told Tom that I'm going to do MMA. I can literally hear his expression in my head. I won't repeat it, but you know what I mean? It's like, you couldn't do that.
No.
You know what I mean? But now, like you said, you can have someone that's good at their craft, but able to adapt it for MMA. Everyone's more aware of it now, you know?
And people are more understanding of how to get better now, I feel like. Even like lifting weights when I started boxing, which I'm 34, I'm not that old. It's not like I'm fucking 60, do you know what I mean? Like, if you told the coach who was lifting weights, he'd be, you fucking...
Yeah, don't do that,
like,
slow you down.
And like all that shit. And I feel like a lot of that is maybe the younger generation. Like I know people now that are coaches in the boxing club, shout out Elsfield, that were my sparring partners and boxers.
Okay.
Makes me feel fucking old. Do you know what I mean?
Man.
Like they was boxing, they was a little bit older than me boxing, and they've like stopped boxing. Now they're coaching. And
Okay.
and I think it all brings it up, doesn't it? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
man.
everyone, and the older coaches that were coaches then, I don't want to say soften with age. It sounds like you're bumming them down, doesn't it? But like their minds changed.
Yeah,
They do more.
maybe
They've got
it is
people doing
softening.
different things. Do you know what I mean?
Man, maybe it is softening, you know, but not in a derogatory sense. Like
in the best way. In
yeah,
the best
as in
possible
like
way.
you know what? Maybe the older we get, the more malleable our approach is to things in general. Like maybe you can see where that younger generation was going with the thing. You know, you may not necessarily agree with it, but you got space in your head to accept it, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what happens with the older lot. As even me, as I look at it as where I am now, looking at the whole landscape of martial art, as opposed to where I was at 20. Like even that's changed. You know what I mean?
But
man.
with experience as well, I think you start to understand like there's different ways to do things.
Yeah,
like
of course.
I've been in situations before, like when I was like teenager boxing and stuff. You know, if a coach told you to do something and it worked for you, if you saw someone else doing it even slightly different, you'd be like, no, that's wrong.
Yes.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
Yeah.
But it ain't wrong.
Says
he's
who,
got
man?
longer arms and he's taller, or
Exactly.
you're shorter and strong.
Exactly.
Whatever, right? There's a
Exactly.
million different ways to make things work. But anyway, mate, tell us about like, because you touched on amateurs and pros. Did you have an amateur career, or was you straight
Oh yeah,
pro?
Jesus! I had an amateur career, man. So I was just thinking about it. It's mental.
Because there weren't a lot of MMA amateur back then.
No,
right?
there wasn't. So you remember I mentioned Ash at the beginning of this thing,
Yeah,
yeah?
shout out Ashley Grimshaw. I
So-
spoke to him. I'm trying to get him on here.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. I'll message him. To
Yeah,
get
you
on,
tell him because he keeps ignoring me. No, I'm
Bro,
joking.
your story needs,
He's a
needs
busy
to
guy.
be told as well.
He's a busy
He's
guy.
immensely busy. They're doing amazing things over at GB.
And he don't know
Top
me
Team,
from Adam.
you know?
We've never met in person.
Oh,
We've just
but
spoke.
definitely,
Yeah.
we'll sync it up, man. I'd be interested to hear more of his story.
He's one of them people, like a few people. that-
Marmite?
Well, no, he's one of them people that everyone's like, got to get him on.
man.
Like, if
Yeah,
you
no,
mention him, you're
100%.
like, he's the guy. You've
100%,
got to get him on.
100%,
Like, no one says a bad
100%.
word. So shout out Ashley
Yeah,
Grimshaw,
man.
mate. Let's get
He's
you
like,
on.
he was like what was he? A mentor to me. He was a coach. He was a teammate. Do you know what I mean? And a friend, man.
What, is he
More-
similar
more
age to
so.
you? Similar generation?
Yeah, I think maybe there's a year between us.
Yeah.
Maybe. He's a little bit older than me, but yeah, man. I got it. You know what? It was a privilege to be exposed to all sides of him, because at the time, I think he was more comfortable wearing the coat of the villain because he didn't give a monkeys, whereas I did.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So.
That's interesting.
Yeah, man, like people were like, that's why I said Marmite, because during that time where we were coming up, there were guys that loved him or guys that just wanted to see his head caved in, but nobody could deny that he is skilled. Do you know what I mean? And nobody could deny that he did the graft. He did the miles.
And that alone annoys people. People want to see you lose. If you're good and you're training hard, people don't like that, do they?
That's bad, man.
Do you know what I mean? But that's just the way things are, isn't it?
Unfortunately, man, the business, or my business now in terms of like people, I'm in the business of people, personal training, teaching, martial arts or whatever. And unfortunately, the longer I'm in the business is the more you get exposed to all sides of people. And I think sometimes it kind of turns me inwards. Like I don't socialize as much now because I've seen all sides to human beings now. I've seen human beings push boundaries, test, take the piss, reflect, deflect. It's so apparent that it's actually prompted me to go more into psychology, understanding the brain, understanding like tendencies, behaviors, social, not economics, but behaviors amongst tribes and stuff like that. Because a lot of what I see, we as a species could be doing a lot better, to be fair, man. But yes, you know what I mean?
Chill,
but we got work to do. We got work to do, you know?
Yeah.
So all I can do is use the tools here as a martial artist or as a teacher to help people to understand themselves. And thereby, like, if I can positively affect one person at a time, then I'm doing my bit.
That's it, and that's what you can do at the end of the day, innit?
That's it,
you know what I mean? You
can't carry the can for humanity. That's too much.
One person at a time.
Yeah, one person at a time.
One fucked up martial artist at a time.
100%, 100%. Because we're all screwed up in some way. Let me put this on camera. I say it like jokingly to my students, but to fight professionally, you have to have a screw loose, man.
There's a reason you walk in the gym.
Yeah, there's a reason why you come in the gym and you want to trade hands, feet, knees, elbows, or whatever else with another human being. There's a reason behind that. I knew my reason. And it had very little to do with, although I talked about becoming a champion, it was really to exercise some demons, man.
Yeah.
It was to be in an environment where I'm allowed to express, because I wasn't very good at the time, or maybe I'd suppressed so much that I couldn't really get it out, or that you're not allowed to get it out. Do you know what I mean? So the gym afforded me the ability to just let it out. And back then I had more anger and athleticism than skill. I had skill. I had decent hands and stuff. People during my time of competing, people knew me more as a boxer that could wrestle. But more than that, man, there was just a lot of fury. Like, I was angry with a lot of shit, man, and that was the avenue where I could exercise some demons, you know. But now I say, your screws loose when you decide to compete, right, as a professional. But then the minute you start to figure out that you have a loose screw, you need to retire.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
because because you got decisions then, right? You realize that your screw is loose, so you can either you leave it loose and continue to fight, but just knowing that you have a loose screw, you come up against someone that doesn't care for their loose screw, and they can do you in, because now you got a limit. You understand what I mean? You got a limit to where you want to go. Yeah. Whereas someone who doesn't, they live, breathe the shit, and they're willing to die for it. They don't have no limit. No. So when you hit when you're in certain positions and you're getting your head caved in, sorry, but it can be the truth. Your limit or your acknowledgement of your loose screw can force you to tap or take a knee. Whereas someone who doesn't care for it, they'll push past that limit. They'll die in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know, because I've been both of those people. I
Right.
fought with a loose screw and didn't care for it. And I fought with trying to kind of adjust the screw just enough to allow me to continue fighting, when really I had no business being in there, you know, because I figured out, wait a minute, I know why I'm doing this, and I figured it's coming from a place of pain. So then you start to become, like they said in Rocky, what this coach said, you become a little bit civilized. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So, that's why when I have people walk through the door now and say that they want to fight, I'm prompted to get to know their why. Why do you want to do it? Because you will, if you hang about in this sport or in a combat sport long enough, there'll be a moment where your why will be staring you in the face. And it's normally when you're under the kosh, your why has to be so intrinsically woven into you to get you through it. Do you know what I mean? If your why is shallow, you ain't gonna get through it. You'll get a couple of wins if things get matched in your favor. You know, you'll get a couple of mates or a bit of a following on Instagram and stuff like that. But there'll be moments if you hang about long enough and you seek truth that it will find you. You know what I mean? And it did. It did during my career. Yeah, just memories of fighting. There were moments like in my first run, because I had a run from, so we talked about amateur, I'll come back to that. But I turned professional in 2009, December 13th, 2009. So between 2009 up until I fought Leon Edwards, 2013 I think it was, that was my first run. Then I took a while out of the sport, then came back and had a second stab at it. But during that first run, up until the Leon fight, I was that guy. I didn't care. I had my screw, literally as I'm walking out, I used to say a prayer that God should help the other person, because I know what I'm coming to do, and I accept that you're coming to do the same thing, but my reasons for doing this are quite dark. You know, so I just pray that the referee is able to get to him on time. I didn't care so much for myself. It's like either I was going to win or I literally go out on my shield, and there was no if or buts about it, you know. That was what it was like up until my first kid was born.
Right.
Yeah, so once I had my son,
that's interesting, isn't it? Because like you said, like about the screw loose and all that,
yeah,
and like
man.
how I think a lot of people that have got, well, probably everyone that's got into martial arts and took it seriously to whatever level, they can relate to that, right? If everything's good at home and everything was great and you was happy, you ain't doing this shit.
No. I think you dabble. You do a little bit,
and that's
you know,
you
maybe spar and that, but
you ain't, when you sparred hard on the Wednesday and you're fucking hurting and your knee's sore, you ain't coming back on Thursday,
No. I made my ass back.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And anyone that's stuck in it long enough will know that feeling, because I think you put it good with the loose screw.
Screw loose, man.
There's something wrong, but you don't know what it is. You just
Exactly.
I've got to do this.
Something I can't express it, man. But give me a pad and I'll express
and
it.
And there's like what you touched on earlier with like the older men in the family, like looking at them. That's
Oh
a
my
part
God,
of it too,
yeah.
isn't it? I can relate to that, like looking and thinking.
What
am I doing? I'm the guy. Do you know what I mean?
Like
I'm a guy. Do you know what I mean?
What did they call it? Is it patriotism or is it just pride of your last name? Right? I was like, I want these guys. A part of me believes that they're still watching, so I want them to know that the last name is cool with me. Do you know what I mean? The same thing. I look at my sons now, in particular my younger one, because he is a rebel. And I'm trying to guide a rebel, yeah. So I say to his mum all the time, he's I'm just a shepherd. I don't know what's in store for this guy, but whilst he's growing into his manhood, my job is just to shepherd this dude so he don't hurt himself.
Yeah.
Once he gets to an age, all the attributes that you'd want to see in a man he's got, I just need to get him there, because sometimes he makes some decisions, you know. But I look at him and I think, yeah, like my family is cool with you because you exhibit the traits of a leader. And you're capable of putting everyone under your wing, you know. So I look at him in particular like that.
And they're all different as well, aren't they? Like you see some kids in gyms, and my friends who got boys and whatnot, and some kids are just they're built that way, aren't they?
Yeah.
From a young age, very young,
yeah,
and you can't put your finger on it, but you're
Yeah.
like. You know what he's going to be like when he's older. Do you know what I mean? You've got
They
that
say, like,
sense.
As they come out, so they are.
Yeah.
As they come out, so they are. So my firstborn was, he was cool. Kobe's like the cool, level-headed eldest of them and stuff. But my second son, like, mum struggled with him.
Right.
Like birth and that, you know what I mean? And like he was. I always joke. I say he's difficult from birth. And when you look at him now, it's the same. It's the same thing. My youngest, Araceli, she come out and she's literally, her nose is turned up to the world. Like, I said, where this confirmed reincarnation, because you must have come before. Because normally kids are kind of crying and shriveling up, or their fists are clenched. She came out like, yeah, can I be wiped now? You can. I will allow you to clean me.
She's like, I'm back.
Yeah, real regal, you know. And now when I look at her now, like, it's the same thing. So sometimes it makes me think, you know, as you're born, so you are. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Man.
That,
That's fun.
And
It's
I'll
crazy,
tell you what,
man.
that makes me like when I've seen kids around boxing clubs and whatnot, and my friend's got 2 boys who are very much, you can see it. You know when you just see that something in them and you just go, that's not taught, is it? It's not taught.
No.
It makes me wonder, like, nature versus nurture. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes, like, obviously experiences in life play, like, if you've had an extremely hard life, that can gear you towards it too.
Yeah.
But some people, I'll give you an example. Chris Eubank Jr.
Okay.
Born with a silver spoon, dad was rich, right? And he's still fucking mean and nasty. Conor Benn, his dad, exactly the same. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they've been brought up that way. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's something in there in the genes. Because I can relate to that to a degree, right? I don't think naturally I'm a fighter. I'm a martial artist.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? I'm a martial artist that can fight, as opposed to a fighter that does martial art.
Yep.
You know, so what do I mean by that? I think by nature, I would rather talk a fight down than have one. Do you know what I mean? But if I am pushed to do so, then I can quite well. Do you know what I mean? So, like, my nature is that way. I'm not out. I don't stick my neck out, like, you know what I mean. But I'm capable of looking after myself. Thank God. So, to tap into the ability to do that, though, that's where the nurturing came from. Because my journey started with bullying. You know what I mean? So, like, my mates maybe would do something to me in class, and I'd be literally thinking, you know what? I want to do something back to you, but you're my friend. So then I have that kind of battle in myself. It's like, I like this guy, but half of me is saying, yeah, but I want to hurt you for what you've just done. So I would kind of hold the brakes on that, you know, as a kid. So then that's where, like, my dad kind of got me involved in all the bits and pieces, you know. So, yeah, you do see it. And there is nature and nurture. There is also what I'd call... like the kind of second, the not curse, maybe the blessing of the second kid. Like, you know, you got 3, or if you have 3, for example, the first one is always like by the book.
Yep.
No matter what race, what culture, the first one is normally by the book, right? Then the second one, you can't tell them nothing. Then the third one, you're just like, because you kind of given up on. Do you know what I mean? But the first one is, it gives you faith still. That second one, it's like they have a whole destiny plan. So sometimes, like you said, when you're seeing kids in teaching or in these arenas and that, and you see, it does make me like question. I wonder, like, how many siblings you got? Okay, where do you come in the pecking order? And, okay, all right. I'm dealing with one of you guys, so I know how to be with you or with the eldest. Sometimes in when I'm teaching the kids and that, you got. The eldest ones need to almost be given permission to roar. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they want to do things by the book for mummy and daddy and that, and they're not allowed to, or maybe don't want to be seen to not do things by the book, you know? So they need to be given that room to, like, no, you can shout if you want to. You can make mistakes if you want to, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? And then that last one is normally like silver spoon syndrome. Yeah. Because you've got the eldest one that will look after you, and then you've got the middle one that is crazy but will still look after you. So they get used to, you know what I mean? So you've almost got to give them, like, the ability to stand on their own too and be seen as an individual instead of relying on either your parents or your siblings to kind of look after you. So it's interesting how, to me as teaching now, how, like, family dynamics or family structure can affect, like, the mentality that a kid might have towards martial art, you know?
That's interesting you say that, because Carl Froch, you know, the boxer, world champion, I think it was him, if I'm wrong, someone correct me, but I believe it was him, was talking about where he's the middle of 3 brothers. That's what made him super tough, because he had his older brother kicking fuck out of him. But he was beating up his younger brother. So he could be the hammer and the nail. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what made him tough. And it makes sense, doesn't it? The other one is obviously John Jones. He's got an older and a younger.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And he's pretty good, right?
there may be something to it. This is just a theory, but me and my theories and shit, you know, there might legitimately be something to that. You know, the position that somebody is in their like pecking order at home and stuff. You know,
and at school maybe makes cousins, all that shit ties in. I think, doesn't it? Whatever situations you're.
So it's like community, nature, and nurture. Maybe they all got something to do with it. Yeah, man.
I think everything has an effect there. But I do think the older I get, the more I look at it and I go, I do think people are born with something. I think there's definitely, let's just call it weird, someone's a pussy, they're a pussy.
Yeah, you know
there's no hope for some people. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think, but like the ones that always, like I said, the Eubanks and Ben sons.
Oh God.
Because like their dads was obviously, they come from the streets and they did their thing. But they grew up rich. And that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Because that definitely, to me, plays into what you said about like, trying to impress the older ones. They've got that chip on their shoulder.
I want to earn my stripes. And you almost get angry, or it seems like they get, or when you get to a stage, right? 18, 19 or that, or even younger, you say like, look, as a dad, I've done all that I can to prevent you living the life that the dad lived. Something in your head is like, what, do you think I'm not capable of living the life you live?
Yeah, if you push them too far.
I'm strong too. Like, I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to show you. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
and it just something just clicks in your head.
Dads look at it and they go like, he's my little boy, pat him on the head.
Yeah.
He's my little, soldier.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, like you said, he's a teenager and he's got testosterone and he's like, fuck that. You know what I mean?
I'm not your little boy no more.
Yeah.
You want to be seen. You know what I mean? So there's that. I think when I look at, because I remember Chris Eubank from the, do you remember the documentary they used to do on the Old Man on Channel 5?
Yes, it was called At Home with the Eubanks.
At Home with the Eubanks,
yes.
right. And I remember the episode when he was saying, son, I don't want you to box.
With Lennox Lewis.
Yeah,
Lennox Lewis was in
it's
that
like,
scene.
please, somebody talk to this guy because he wants to do me, but he didn't grow up in Hackney. He didn't grow up with doing all my bits. He didn't get sent to the States with an au pair for years. He didn't get put in the gym in New York, I think it was, like for years. Nobody there. You know what I mean? He didn't get that exposure. He's here with me and mum and he wants to do what I did. I get the fear as a dad for that, but like I said, you gotta let him try.
Do you remember what Lennox Lewis said in response?
No.
Lennox Lewis said, listen, he's going to do it anyway. Right, you might as well help him.
Yeah,
you can't stop him, he's going to do it.
Might as well be there.
You might as well guide him to do it. And it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you leave him and make him wait till he's 18 and out the house, and he goes to the gym and he's called Chris Eubank, you've done him no favours, have you? No, you can't. I think to a degree, that was part of the story with me, man, because when I decided to do this, like my parents were not cool with this at all, and it led to a bit of a rift for a very long time. And I think as a younger man, I think we all want a seal of approval or a nod from your old man to say, all right, you know what? Yeah, you earned your stripes. So that was all mixed into the journey of fighting. I think to some degree, yes, I enjoy entertaining people. I love entertaining people with whatever skills I have. But part of the stuff, was like, I want his seal of approval. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want to get it the way you prescribing me to get it. I want to get it this way. And if you won't back it, I'm going to show you that I can do this with or without you. Do you know what I mean? So there was all of this stuff going on in the head. There's a jostling too. If you become a point and you're a certain type, like two alpha males are going to butt heads anyway.
Yeah.
Like I've experienced that. You know what I mean? Like I can relate to that. Like with some people, I know some people that have been good boxers, but their dad, and I'm not knocking their dads, but their dads are softer characters. Their dads aren't that alpha male character.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay,
the son is, and that's why he's a fighter, but the dad ain't, so they didn't have that rift. It was always a pat on the back and like, love your son, well done. Do you know what I mean? It's a different dynamic, isn't it? And I don't think one's right or wrong, is it?
No, man, it's just
it's
like,
what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You know, there's things that I wish could have been when I was competing, and that I would have loved my old man to see, because after all, like I said, the mural linked to the video to how this started, it started with him. Yeah. You know, so I would have loved for him to be beside me, but like you said, man, it is what it is. And now I may be years away from one of them deciding to do similar. Then
I got to ask myself, well, you know, all that stuff that you said about so now you're in his shoes. Yeah. How are you going to handle it? Are you going to handle it differently, or, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, because you're looking through dad eyes.
Yes.
You're not seeing a kid that wants to fight, you're seeing your baby. So it's different, isn't it? It's tough. And that's what your dad looked to you like.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm saying, like, I get it, man.
Yeah.
You know?
But one thing I want to touch on is when you said about how you're more of a martial artist than a fighter and all that 100%, kind of stuff. Yeah. I had this chat with you. Do you know who Vinny Shawman is?
Yes.
So I had him on and I asked him this, and we was talking about this, and this is really interesting. And he's before the bit about the fighting stuff, I said to him, like, how's it go? Like, someone comes to you and like they're stressed and I'm worried, and it was really interesting on the episode. Check out the episode with Vinny Shawman.
I'll take a look, because I think that was a few weeks back, isn't it?
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's great. And he said, I said, like, someone comes to you, oh, Vinny, I'm stressed, and blah blah, gives all the problems. He sat there, you know, he's chill, and he's got a polite voice, and you're like, well, don't do it then. He said, just don't do it then.
Yeah,
and he said that froze them, and they go, oh, I want to work. And he said, right, now we can work.
Oh, okay.
You know? And if I'm butchering it, correct me.
He flipped it.
He flips it on them,
like
because
that.
he goes, they're like, well, I get this, and I get nervous expecting him to sort of like whatever, like rub their hand. He's like, no, don't do it then. And he said it brings a whole different, like, more, you know.
Puts you in the right frame of mind. I might try that.
It's good, isn't it? It's interesting. And the reason we was talking about, like, I've heard him say it before, I can't remember, I think it was on Rogan, someone was talking about it, like, when you're dealing with martial artists and fighters, every fighter's got elements of all three different types.
100%.
But like, you're predominantly athlete, artist, or fighter.
Yes.
Right? And I agree with this. Like, the more I hear it, I go, I think he's right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you agree with that?
100%, man. I think you know Dean Thomas?
Yeah.
So he did a podcast with Rogan about 2 years ago where he was describing the same thing. I think he had 4 categories.
It might have been where I heard it.
I agree with the 3, right?
It was Dean Thomas.
Athlete, artist, fighter, and that you have to have all 3. And I believe in helping people to understand, like, their mixture. If you've got a pie chart, like, what percentage are you this, that, and the other? And you know what? Be cool with the percentage that you are.
That's the trick.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't think it matters. I think you just need to know. If you're some artist type, don't pretend you're like an animal fighter, because you'll come unstuck. Because you're getting there with someone who is.
Yes, yeah. And you can't outdo them at what, like you said, what they are intrinsically.
That's
you may not be able to beat them if you're pretending to be that, you know? Yeah, I would say back then, I was athlete, fighter.
Yeah.
So whatever sport you put me in, I'd do well at. And I could have a scrap. But in terms of really embodying what a martial artist should be, I knew of it. I saw it through my older brother, but I wasn't there yet. I didn't have the maturity for the mental side of it. Although I read a lot of philosophical books and stuff, there was always something lying about based on philosophy and science. I didn't live it. I knew it, but I didn't live it. So now I would say, I'm living those principles now. So I'd call myself more of a martial artist, especially as I sit here. I can still fight, even though, like, my body's kind of betrayed me a little bit. So the athleticism has died down. But what's elevated is my understanding of what martial arts should be beyond the cage, beyond the mat, beyond the ring, you know? So that looks after me now. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting, because the reason I asked you is, like, I saw you do a fight with my old mate Mem, obviously.
Oh my God,
Looks like a fight there to me. That's a pretty wild fight.
It
was.
In the first. That was me at the peak of, I don't care if I die here.
And like, he looked like he was in the same mode as well.
Yeah, it was, and that's what happened. There was like an explosion in the beginning. Right,
and sorry, just for context, I didn't know him then. I met him after that. I met him about a year after that in Thailand training. I met him training together. I don't know if you know a fella called Ido Portal.
Yeah.
So I trained with him me and Mem was at a camp with him, and like I did a lot of training with him, and he was there, and he was like, first time I met him, both London boys, like everyone's from all over the world. And we got chatting, both like into our fighting and stuff. And he was like, blah, blah, blah. And he was like videos, and we was looking up videos and watched that fight. And I remember going, this guy's real.
No, I learned a lot in that fight, for as short as it was, because it was an explosion, man. Like, I tried to do a little bit, but I couldn't find much of him online. So that got my anxiety going, like, and like I said earlier on in this thing, it's like you kind of paint the picture of the worst case scenarios that can be done to you and go and train for that, because I don't know what this guy is capable of. And I got that and then some in the cage with him. I remember, like, the front kick caught me right in the mouth. And when I talk about martial artists, like, I should have been able to just
roll with that, accept that, and get my own back when my time comes. I saw red and chased him. I thought, what the fuck, who are you? Like, and we literally clashed, grabbed each other, was kneeing each other, boom, 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 boom. Then I hear Joe Mack, former teammate of mine, say, take him down. So clear, even you know how noisy it can be in the Troxy, but it's like, just get under him, take the double. Took him down, and then like the rest was history. But if you have a look at the tape, when I said there were moments where I just didn't care.
Yeah.
There was a bit where we were at the edge of the far side of the cage, where he's making he's making his way up to his feet, and I something in me just wanted to hurt whenever I was in there. So I remember throwing knees and stuff, but luckily they didn't land on his face. They were on his body.
Right.
So at that moment, I'd been ready to be disqualified, because that was a fight to me now. That wasn't rules
now it's
anymore.
real.
Yeah. So I remember like making my way up and driving those knees into him, not caring whether they hit his face or his body. It was wrong. But lucky for us, it landed to the body, and the referee called the fight to continue. So you can see, if you look closely, you see me kind of walking off, because like, I don't give a fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then the referee's like, no, continue. I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just continue hurting you. Yeah. So then towards the end, we traded punches, and what happened.
I'll try and find that and put the link in below, because it's why, if you know, in terms of excitement, this is like,
and that was the thing. I suppose the veneer or on the surface level, I know I can provide entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From the time I got involved in this thing, even as an amateur, like with my boxing fights or whatever, on certain shows, they would always be talking about my fight. Mm-hmm. Or they'd come out, yours was one of the best ones, or if not the best one. It was very entertaining. So I loved that, entertaining people, you know. But deep down, like I said, you know, the feelings when your why is presented to you. Mm-hmm. You know what my why was? I wanted my badge of honor, and I was going to die trying to get it, you know? So I was faced with that a few times in the ring, you know, both on the good and the bad side. I mean, I remember my first loss to Galore. Mm-hmm. That was tough. Like, you're how are we doing for time?
As long as you want, mate.
Yeah?
Let's check the time.
Wicked. Yeah, we're good. So my class is at 6. We've got time, man.
Perfect.
So my first loss against Galore Befando, he is like, or was like, a phenomenal kickboxer that had decent awareness of MMA. He was like the prototype for a Michael Page.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You
this
know what I
guy,
mean?
sort of a long-framed guy, right?
No, short
short
guy, but long legs.
I was thinking
long legs, man.
Okay.
Black guy, normally plats and that is ridiculous kicks, man. And I think looking back on it, I had too long to prepare for him and didn't know how to prepare for him. There's not many people, if you go back 14 years, for example, who would you get to have prepared you for the likes of Michael Page 14 years ago, before we even knew that there were athletes like Michael Page?
You get Dave in the corner of the
gym.
I
don't know, maybe have like, here's a bucket of pebbles, Dave. Just chuck them at me and see whether I can avoid them.
And then throw a spinning
you know what
kick
I mean?
at me.
Something, Dave. I don't know. Think outside the box, Dave. Do you know what I mean? But we couldn't prepare for him. So all I could do was get fit and train the way that I was used to training for the run-of-the-mill MMA fighters at the time, bro. I was burnt out. I knew like a couple of weeks before the fight, I was burnt out, like emotionally spent. Yeah, like I was living in my head because of my own demons and stuff. And I knew 2 weeks before, I was like, dude, you have got nothing left to give to this. Right. And then a week before it, I came down with a flu. And then the weight cut was shit. And this is not excuses. This was just my journey to get in there. The weight cut was shit. Because back then it's just starve, innit? Cut weight by starving. That was it. Well. Don't eat, don't drink, blah blah blah. Not knowing that the brain is the last place to rehydrate, right? So there's that. So night of the fight now, I'm doing my reps with Mickey. Mickey Papas was our coach at Titan for about a decade. But I was superstitious at the time, right? So Mickey's doing my gloves. Yeah, it doesn't help to be a fighter and be superstitious, man.
But most of them are.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mad. So Mickey's doing my glove, and for the first time, bro, you know the scissors that you do the wraps with?
Yeah.
He's cut my hand open.
Oh, Mick, bro.
Oh,
Mick.
Okay. So I've had a shit time to get here, Mick, and like even my dad said, you know what, don't do it because I've had a bad dream that I was like, dude, please. I am really struggling to prepare for this guy. I just need someone to tell me you're gonna be good, man. Just go out and do what you can. So I remember a few days before, Dad was saying, don't do it. I've had a shit weight cut. I've got these demons in my mind that I had to see a performance coach for in order to manage all of that. Then this happens with the hand being cut. We was in a room in the Troxy that was sweltering. It was in the summer. And I thought, this might not be your night, you know? Do you know what I mean? But I'm going to go out there anyway, yeah? So I've made the walk. And if you have a look at the video, like there was a bit where I'm coming out and I'm trying to shake all the shit off of me, man. And I stop. And then I stop for a few split seconds and it's like, I accept my fate. If you want me, you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to knock me out. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm still coming with everything that I've got, but I don't know how much I've got to give.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we get in there, doing our bits and pieces. I've gone for a takedown because the whole plan was to close distance on him and keeping close to the cage and that. He must have done something magical with his foot where I've gone to maybe go for an inside reap. He's lifted his leg up in the air like, I don't know. Normal human beings don't do that. Then in my head, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a long night. So then we turn each other, we're back in the middle, and he starts to land all of these kicks. And I swear to you, bro, I tell my students this story all the time. It's like my spirit, the warrior spirit in me, come out of my body and says, listen, you've put me through 5 months of hell. I'm really sorry, dude, but I've got nothing left. You're on your own. And I watch it walk out of the cage and lock it behind me, yeah? That's how it felt, bro. So in the video, you'll see like I take like an acceptance of, okay, this is gonna hurt. But what did I promise myself? Very similar to what Eubank says about dealing with punishment, or the fight that he had with Collins. He got beaten so bad that he felt like he was gonna lose control of his bladder and that. My beating was not that bad, but I felt it would be the warrior thing to just accept what you've got. What have you got to give? And the only thing I can do is take what you've got to give because I have nothing left. You know what I mean? I tried, but my body just couldn't. I couldn't find that juice that I normally had. So that was it. All I could do is just try to survive and get to the bell. And I remember towards the end, many people would say that he caught me with the spinning kick. It wasn't the spinning kick. As he's thrown the spinning kick and it landed, like I thought in my head, you fucking... So I've ran at him. So he's thrown that wheel kick and he's come round with a punch that I didn't see. And because I didn't see it, it landed flush and that was it. And I remember like a moment later, I don't know how long, because I was out, yeah? So I remember being woken up by the paramedics. And then like, I got the gas on me and what's all this? What's happening? So mate, it's all over. Oh, it broke me, man. Yeah. I went upstairs and I was in tears about it. I was broken. Do you know what I mean? Because my self-esteem at the time came from fighting. And I was this undefeated, entertaining fighter, and I didn't buy into the hype. I was fairly grounded. But I was beginning to be proud of myself. You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then to go out like that, your first loss, knockout like that, where it was plastered all over YouTube. I mean, my wins were via knockout are like maybe 5,000 views. My loss via knockout was like 20,000. So I felt even more like shit. And what they used to they used to show the fights on Sky Sports at the time, remember? Yeah. So I knew they were going to repeat that fight. Yeah. So I disappeared, like off the grid for a bit, and I remember I was at a friend's house, and it normally comes on around 10 o'clock, innit? Or it used to come around 10 o'clock, Sky Sports 3, right? A replay of Cage Rage. So I purposely talked us into watching a film. But on the time, I had Twitter on my phone at the time, innit? So we were into this film and that, and I was thinking, right, they must have finished playing my fight by now. They must have finished playing my fight by now. And then my Twitter feed starts to blow up. Now, I'm expecting the darker side of humanity to be like, oh, good, like, he got knocked out, good for him, da-da-da-da-da, who does he think he is, da-da-da, all the fights that he won, I knew he was shit, this, that, and the other. Bro, completely the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, they was like, you know what? Hats off to you, it was an entertaining fight, this one, that one, you showed loads of heart, blah, blah, blah. Just constantly like that. Comment in that vein. And that helped me to rebuild myself. That gave me faith in people again and the support from everyone and stuff. And I thought, all right, from now, I'm going to build myself back up, because to lose like that, I mean, even going to the hospital on the Monday after that fight, because Mum was right about me, because I suffer from migraines anyway. Long before I got involved in the sport, I have really bad migraines. So I went to the hospital with Mum. And I always remember, like, Mum wanted to come in to speak with the doctor with me, and I'm like, nah, Mum, you stay there, because you may hear things that you're supposed to hear. Do you know what I mean? So I remember all of that shit, and I'm like, do I continue? Because there are people around me that have been affected by this thing. Or do I stop? Maybe this isn't for me. I continued, man. I wanted redemption. I'm not gonna go out like that. No way. So then, like, I saw a sports psychologist for a while up in Cambridge. I made my way down to him, because I'm really cerebral. I'm very heady anyway. So it was all about rebuilding this again, you know, and then the skills and that. And that's when I took up strength and conditioning properly for the first time with Andy Marshall. What I was talking to you about with Dillian and that, it was me, Dillian, his brother.
Dillian White, for anyone
Dean, his brother, and some other guys. We all used to train in what we called the villains layer, because the name of the company at the time was Villain Strength. Right. As in, like, the strength of a villain, you know. Yeah.
And he was Dylan the Villain for a while, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
He was. I think he was Dylan the Villain for a while, before he was the Body Snatcher.
Yeah. Dylan the Villain White, man. Yeah, so we was all lifting together, and these guys were moving weight, because they're heavyweights.
I was going to say, they're big lumps, and Jesus Christ.
So, like, to match, I had to match them. I didn't want them to take off plates just for the lighter weight guy.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? I didn't want to be that guy. No. I'm gonna lift that. So I ended up, like, becoming a lot stronger. I spent a lot more time with Kieran Keddle. I always remember, you know what? You know the saying that people say, look, when you're winning, everybody ring you, and then when you lose, your phone is blown up way less. Mm-hmm. Kieran was training me up to the point, or for that fight with Galore, yeah? And I remember him giving me a call just to check up on me, told me, listen, stay out of the ring for X amount of time, and we'll meet for a chat. And I just for that conversation alone, like, I'll never forget. Kieran went on to become a huge part of my life for the rest of my career, but it was that conversation, just showing care, do you know what I mean? Beyond the rest at the time, do you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put my faith in you. So he's like, listen, you wanna get back in, I need to see you in Swanley a lot more, because he was at Swanley at the time. Yeah. So I was living in Hendon at the time. So I've gone from Hendon, take the train to Swanley, come back down to King's Cross to do the my teaching and my work, because that was at Urban Kings at the time. Then sometimes I go back to Swanley to see him at night, or make my way down to Mum's.
How far is that? Fuck that.
Oh my God, bro, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you, but it was far.
I was going to say, for anyone who's like not from the south or whatever, that's a trek and off.
It's beyond south. Never mind the north-south divide. I'm going, like, from north to Kent and then back down and then back up and this one and that one. But I wanted it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, my why was staring me in the face and says, okay, I've kind of knocked you back a peg. What you gonna do? You gonna give up? said, no, at least not without the redemption. I want that back, you know. So I reapplied myself to everything. I got on the mat. I was doing more jiu-jitsu with Ash and Jude Samuels and stuff at Urban Kings. I was wrestling a lot more. I was sparring a lot more. And then that sixth fight came up. I talk about it even to this day with my missus, you know, because again, like, you know, I'm saying that when I fought, it was a fight. It wasn't a competition. It was bad what I did, man. I fought Kes Mamba, I think, and we fought in Southend. And all I wanted was, it's pretty sinister looking back on it, you know, pretty cold-hearted and sinister. I wanted to entertain the crowd, and I wanted to decimate him at the same time, like viciously. And I did that. There was a moment in that fight, without being too graphic, where we were allowed elbows on the ground, and I loved ground and pound, right? He was on the floor, and I was on top of him in side control, and man, I just started letting go elbow after elbow after elbow after elbow, and it wasn't him I was fighting, it was all of my stuff plus my loss, and you look just like him. So like I remember, right? Yeah, he had the plaits and everything, man. And I thought, okay, so it's just all of that on your poor skull. And I remember, like, as I'm elbowing him, it was on the forehead, not the smartest place to elbow someone, but there was a part of me that, I'm sorry to say it, that almost enjoyed that. You understand me? And it's like I tapped into something that was maybe a bit darker about me. Then the referee came to separate us for a little while, and on my life, it looked like a cartoon. Like there was blood that literally coming out of his skull. And I thought, what the fuck have I just done? Like half of me was thinking that, you know what I mean? Then the referee called it. And I remember like his head was just split open here, and to get the bandage and everything, they had to stop the fight because there was too much blood on the canvas. And once we were out of that arena again, like I was checking up on him. I thought, bro, are you okay? Like I'm sorry that it got, because remember what I prayed for. I prayed for the referee to step in to stop me from going over the top on my opponent, because they may be there for the sake of sport, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? And I felt like the prayer wasn't answered quick enough or something with him, because it showed on him, you know? So I kept a close eye on him and stuff like that afterwards, and he showed me it was okay. And then we went on to fight Leon Edwards, I think, a year later or so, yeah.
He never did anything in MMA though, right?
Oh no, he didn't do much. You know, had 1 or 2 fights and stuff, but
I don't know why you bothered mentioning.
It's a shame though. It was a talented guy. He could have gone on to do really well, to be fair, if he just stuck at it.
For anyone who's confused and doesn't know MMA too well, UFC champion, defended the belt multiple times.
Yeah, 100%. Maximum respect to him, man. You know, when he won, I remember I was driving to work on the Sunday, but I couldn't stay up and watch because I was working very early on Sunday. And then I heard he won, man. I was literally in tears in my car.
Was you?
Yeah. I texted him. I said, well, listen, look, first of all, you raised my stock, because now I can tell all my students I got knocked out by the world champion, right? So now people know who you are. But secondly, like, I know what it's like to be in the ring with you. He is like, you know, when we talk about Jones, or we talk about like gifted athletes that just have like a natural acumen for a sport. He was doing things in there, even as a youngster, that like was puzzling. He was so smooth with his transitions and the expression of his skill. Like he was able to slow down time really well. And I'm here on my like probably built like a brick shithouse and trying to get to him with athleticism, but it wasn't that with him. It was like athleticism plus. He had so much skill and distance, and he was lethal at the same time, you know? And I was thinking, well, that was you then. I feel sorry for people that you're up against now, because it's that to the nth degree now, do you know what I mean? Yeah,
well, especially as you get to the UFC and the money goes up and you're a full-time pro,
man, can
and
you
got
imagine?
all the right things. That's a different animal, isn't it?
Crazy,
like, when you ain't got to worry about coaching on the side and all that shit. I've had this chat recently a few times on here about like jiu-jitsu athletes, you know, like the pro jiu-jitsu. Whereas in reality, most of them aren't pro jiu-jitsu because they still have to teach class, they still have to do seminars and instructional. Like,
yes.
And the example, the person, I forget who it was Tom Jackman, shout out Tom. He was talking about like tennis players. Like Roger Federer ain't teaching privates on the side. He's just showing up at Wimbledon.
He's got a team of people for him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so when you get to that level like Leon Edwards in the UFC, he's a full-time pro.
Mad.
And that makes a massive difference. How big is he? Because like everyone says
Talk
how big he is.
deceptively, I would call it deceptively thick. Because he's tall, he's got about an inch or two on me, and he's lean. But he's got like a
body,
you know like John Hathaway.
Yes.
Right. So he was a former teammate of mine years back, and I used to take the piss out of him. I used to call him iRobot because he looked lean, but fucking so strong. There's like the middle of their body was like chiseled, and it used to come in like that, but so powerful. Leon was the same. Even now, looking at him, is the same thing.
Yeah.
You think, but he's slim until you stand next to him.
That's what I said. He looks like, that's what I mean by Dorito body.
No,
like
his legs are,
waist,
I see what you mean
shoulders,
now.
right?
But his legs are massive.
Yeah,
I mean, just like John and that. And these guys have some sort of like different type of strength, man. Like I remember now when I'm teaching it, I call it the Leon Edwards. He pinned my hand against the cage. And I remember his arm was locked out. So, not normally when your arm is bent, then you're relying on muscle for resistance in it. But the way he locks my arm out and turned it, like, I couldn't move my fucking hand. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this is cool.
That's interesting.
Maybe not so cool at the time because I'm getting kneed in the head.
Appreciate it tomorrow.
But I appreciate the technique,
And what's your sort of like size and like off-season weight? Let's put it a different way. When you're training hard and you're in shape and you're eating well, what do you naturally weigh?
So back then, about 87 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nice little cut.
Yeah.
Was it hard?
Yeah, it was tough because I would come down to about 84. 84 was about 2 weeks out when like your body's kind of singing like a racing car. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. About 84 and a half. Then from 84 and a half, we'd start starving because we did it the wrong way. So I'd starve myself down to about maybe 81. Then I'd meet up with Ash and we'd go through the whole weight cut procedure. I'm not going to talk about it here.
Right.
But I think the way that we did it, we didn't know better.
Yeah.
But I think that may have shaved fights off of our careers. But we all did it. We all did it. It's just that generation just didn't really know how to,
And what's the score with you now? You done? Is that fight career's over?
Look, I've got to be honest, man. The way that I think God is trying to point me in the direction of guiding others.
Okay.
And me being a stubborn bastard, occasionally I think, what if?
Because I can play Rocky music on that phone if you want to get skipping and like
serious. I mean, look where I work, right? You know what I mean? I saw the guys here because the owner of the gym, Jonathan, he's training for a fight on MTGP in October. And I saw sparring here and I told him, I literally got goosebumps. And I'm like, I want to get in there, but I know my neck is not right anymore. My knee, my ACL blew out on the last fight that I had on Bellator. A year later, when I was trying to get back to Bellator, my Achilles blew out in training. And that injury affected the family a lot.
Right.
Yeah, my missus had to take up for me and in crazy ways. I literally had to crawl up the stairs and all kind of shit. My missus had to wash me and that. I had to hobble and maybe like go to the toilet on one foot and stuff, doing like pistol squats and everything. But I can't pistol squat because the ACL is not there. Do you know what I mean? So it was a rough time for the family. She had to take on so much. So then once we got through that, it's like, shit, man. The best way I can describe it is I've got more people on my boat now. So if I decide to make a decision like that, I've got to look at the cabin and discuss it with them because if something goes wrong, it affects them. Do you know what I mean? So the answer is no. If I was to do anything, like catch wrestling, I don't know whether but like I'm heavily into that as well. I'm very passionate about catch wrestling and stuff, from childhood. But if I was to do anything, it would be along the lines of maybe training up to compete in catch wrestling or having a boxing fight for charity.
Gotcha.
You know, because I lost my brother to cancer and stuff. So if I was to do anything, the why has to be there. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to put yourself through all of this when you can just about run for a train now? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So the why would be that, you know, maybe a boxing fight for charity, but providing that I can get my body fit enough. You know, I don't want to disrespect the sport by trying to cut corners just to make it in. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
you know?
I got you. So you said like when you was starting out this martial or MMA journey, you was like looking at being champion. I'm assuming champion would have been UFC champion.
Oh yeah. So I had a bloody dream about it, didn't I? I remember I told you about superstition. So 2005, I had a dream that I wore the UFC belt, and from then I was locked in. I never became a champion, but I threw everything I had into trying, you know. And I would say that, you know, we had a discussion earlier on about kids and community, nurture, nature, and that. I wouldn't have got half of where I went without my teammates at the time. There were like 4 of us at the time. There was me, there was Luke Newman, there was Bola Omiyele, there was Dyson Roberts. Jack, we call him Polish Jack because I cannot, bro. I love you and miss you, but I can't pronounce your surname properly. I can't. I want to, but I don't want to.
Go on, try it for the cameras. Try for the cameras.
It begins with T-O-Z. Trosidowski os. Forgive me, bro. Forgive me. I miss you. Get in touch, man. Yeah. So there was like a group of us. Jake Boswick as well. And we used to knock 7 bells out of each other, man. We used to like iron sharpened iron during that time. That's when Titan, the welterweights at Titan we were known. Do you know what I mean? And it was because literally we're at war with each other every day. You know, these guys used to go over to American Top Team for their camps. I couldn't follow them, but they brought American Top Team back to us, and they showed us what they were learning out there, and we trained the same way. Same with Brad. You know, it's just because Brad was a lighter weight, he wasn't necessarily a training partner, but he was an overseer, an advisor and stuff at the time, you know. So yeah, without those guys, I wouldn't have got as far. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, man. It was down to them. We were like a brotherhood now. So often, every now and then, I still kind of send messages out to them, just, you know, where I can and stuff. There's some that I can't reach. But every now and then I check in with everyone, and it's nice to see their separate journeys and stuff, you know? Because these guys, we were like family, you know? Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nice. And obviously you made it to Bellator, which is like top show, isn't
it?
Like,
yes, I did.
What was that like, the level of that? Was that a big shock? Or was
man. Where do I start with that? Can I be open?
Cool.
Yeah,
so I think
we'll make this the last
cool,
one.
Mate. Yeah.
So, Bellator. I had been retired in my head for a while. After my 12th fight, I thought that was it, because we just couldn't get a fight to kind of get me back towards that journey again, right? Then Bellator came up within about a year and a half later. I was on the couch, man. I wasn't really doing much. So, and plus my brother was his health was depreciating more and more and more and more. So I took the fight. Wembley Arena, how could I not take the fight? I took it, man. So as we're training for it, my brother passed away a week into camp. I knew he was gonna go, yeah, because he was in the hospital and everything, but I thought he was the most supportive family member when it came to fighting. Being a martial artist, he understood it maybe a bit more, and he was mature ahead, you know. And but we lost him. We lost him to brain cancer, you know, and that it hurt, man. You know what I mean? Because then I've just accepted something a week before. I wanted to get it done while you were still with us. I'm talking like he's still here. Sorry. I wanted to do it while he was still here, and he went. So I'm at a crossroads where I'm like, look. If I turn it down, it's understandable, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I remember making my way up to my coach in Stockton and that, and I was on the train. I had the contract in my hands, not in my hands, on my phone. Sorry. I was like, if I say no, It's understandable. But this is now a job. I didn't love it anymore. Right. When he left, I didn't love it.
It's like a chore.
It's a job now. It's a job. And I was taught, do the job, get the job done. You're a professional, so get the job done. So I signed it and I sent it, right? Training was tough, man, because literally after every session I'd get in the car and I'd have a little cry and that. You know? So it was very hard to keep together. Do you know what I mean? And so I even told Mickey, look, I've accepted a fight on Bellator. And he's like, oh, what you gone and done that for? I was like, oh, thanks. So I'm already feeling a bit shit, you know what I mean?
Hell, yeah.
It's like, oh, but as same as usual, I was like, look, the best thing I can do is just try myself, try to get in shape, you know? So my conditioning coach, Sonny, who was again like family to me, Sonny Dolakia, Semtex, Paul Semtex,
okay, yeah.
His conditioning coach, became our conditioning coach and a family member as far as I'm concerned. He helped me get in shape, but nobody understood how broken I was outside of the ring, you know? So I was just trying to make it. I remember trying to pick out the walkout music for Bellator. Like what tune could I use to kind of refer to him instead of me? It wasn't really about me anymore. You know what I mean? But every time I picked a song that would remind me of him, I would start crying, you know? So I thought, fuck it, I'd pick something that if I had any devil left, I'd pick something that would evoke the devil enough in me to go and fight, you know? So I picked RZA, Fatal by RZA, because I always wanted to walk out to Fatal, but it never felt like the right fight to play that song. This felt like the right fight because I'm not happy about doing this anymore. But you know, the darker side of me that I was talking to you about, I think I can do this to somebody one more time, you know? So I picked a song that made me feel that way. So the preparation was dire. And that's not an excuse, by the way. I mean, I accepted the job and whatever happens, happens, you know? But the occasion we still tried to enjoy. You know, I remember my missus at the time, she's still my missus, by the way, but at the time...
I was going to say, it sounds like you left.
Yeah, no.
You got an announcement you want to make?
No, there are certain women that you know, they just get you. There's certain women that just get you, or maybe certain women that are for you, or you are for certain women, you know, and the cohesion there, that's unmatched, man. So again, if it wasn't for her support behind closed doors, I don't think I would have got there.
Yeah.
No, man, I don't think I would have done, you know. But she came with me to the hotel. We cut weight together, and I remember I was so angry as I was cutting weight because I was thinking of him, and you know, cutting weight isn't fun and stuff. But she was just her presence was a little bit soothing at the time, you know.
Yeah.
And bro, it's the first time in my life you know, they put you up in the hotel, innit? Uh-huh. So I've slept. Normally, I sleep well the night before a fight. I remember I did not sleep well because I knew I didn't prepare. So I was like, I'm dreading tomorrow, you know, because this guy's tasty and I ain't ready. I know I'm not ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then one more opportunity in the morning of the fight, like in the shower. Normally I'd use that to get myself together, right? Those moments. I'm in the shower. I've got a cold shower going and that because I was into cold showers at the time. And I'm trying to get my head focused. I'm trying. We're warming up. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I missed so many moments. We met Hoist Gracie in the lobby. I took pictures with him. I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? I met Chael Sonnen at the meeting, the rules meeting. So you are massive.
Is he?
Yes, okay. Like thick and tall and this, that, and the other. I said, the TV don't do you lot justice,
never
man.
took a
You're
steroid in his life,
monster.
right?
Well, allegedly.
Hey.
Do you know what I mean?
Hey.
So yeah, but there were many like sweet moments that just went over my head, man.
Right.
So all of that to one side. I've come out, walked into the cage, this, that, and the other. We've got into a tussle. We've basically had it because I thought, look, no game plan, which is unlike me. I'm just gonna come out and scrap. And if you knock me out, you knock me out. If I knock you out, I knock you out. Cool. I don't normally compete like that, but I was on emotion, right? So 10 seconds into this bout, and now I've stepped back to throw an uppercut, and my knee blew out. 10 seconds into that bout, man. And he's followed up with shots. I mean, I've fallen, and I put my hand out, which looking back, that was wrong. Because remember I said to you, like, I treated fighting as a fight, not a sport. Me just doing that means, wait a minute, you should stop because something's off. Maybe he's treating fighting as a fight, not a sport. So looking back on that now, I shouldn't have done that. But I didn't understand. I was caught by surprise. So what is this explosion in my knee? I fell to the floor. I've tried to put a hand out to symbolize to him and the ref that something is up. I don't know what's going on, but something is wrong with me. And he's followed up with shots, rightly so, because we're in a fight, you know? And that was it. That was the end of my career. I'm there holding my knee, rolling around on the floor in Bellator and that, in front of people that have come to see me and that. I just felt like I let everyone down. The usual stuff that fighters feel when in those moments and that. They brought the wheelchair and I said, no, I'm not sitting on that. I'm gonna find it to my feet and make my way out of here. And as I'm sobbing and that, I remember Ashley Grimshaw said to me, never let anyone tell you that you're not world class again. And in my head, I was like, Ash, what do you mean? I've come to Bellator and I've got smashed in. What are you talking about? And I'm sobbing and da-da-da-da. But I think maybe he said it because he's seen the road. He saw me wet behind the ears up until 15 years later now we're making the walk to Bellator. He's seen me transition from young man to father to maybe a maturer fighter now and stuff. So that was like me getting a black belt in MMA. Right. Because I have that much respect and love for him. I didn't understand why he said it, but he said it. And to get the nod from him, the most students in the UK, at least this side, will tell you, like, you've done well to get that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, man.
Nice one. Well, like we'll leave it there because I know we've got things on, but I feel like we haven't touched on the catch wrestling.
No, we haven't. No.
Maybe we'll do a part two
we'd love to do another one.
Let's do another one at some point.
Yeah, 100%.
Because this is a really interesting one. And I've got
100%.
a million questions for you,
You're
man.
welcome, man.
But before we finish up, I always have a bit of fun with people. You're the wrong side of the river, remember. What football team do you support? There is a correct answer to this, by the way.
I grew up supporting Arsenal. Don't shoot me. Yeah, I grew up supporting Arsenal. I don't really watch too much football now, but I'm going to let the cat out the bag because I don't really watch football that much, right? One of my favorite British boxers was Ricky Hatton. Okay. And they're always singing Blue Moon, right? Blue Moon.
You're not?
Yeah, yeah. But not like a fan. It's like, you know when you play FIFA, I use Arsenal for my seasons all the time. If I wanted a change or alternate team, it would be Man City.
So you've gone for the teams that have come first and second in the last 2 years. That's
I did not on purpose. I just love I really loved Ricky because of how entertaining he was, and they always singing Blue Moon, Blue Moon. So I used to have Blue Moon on my playlist when I'm going to boxing training.
I got you.
Then it's like, oh, Man City, they also sing this whole thing. So I kind of was infected. It's not my fault. I was just drawn into it.
You're going to sing us out today, is that right?
Oh, no, I can't. So I'm going to save that for the shower, or maybe if there's a part two.
Well, we'll definitely get a part two
with some beverages. Maybe in my house, man.
We'll do it. Let's do it, 100%.
Yeah,
because our mate Big Char, he's a dirty gooner as well, isn't he? So he knows the score. The correct answer for reference for next time is Chelsea. But thank you very much.
Chelsea, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. I always finish up with the fist up like this, mate. Squeeze the neck. Boom!